Here we are, wild card weekend, super wild card weekend, as it's called now, since they added two more teams to the playoffs there a few years ago. We got 7 games this weekend from Saturday to Monday, 2 today, 3 tomorrow, 1 on Monday night, 1 last Monday night football
That's
game.
6.
What's that?
I said that's
That is
6.
6, huh? Yeah, we don't have 7. We have 14 teams, but yeah, 2 of them are on a bye, so 6 games. Yeah, it's going to be hopefully a lot of fun. This playoffs is going to be interesting. I don't know if there's a heavy favorite anywhere across the board. So, and honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if all the teams that are not favored win, even the Panthers. And people will be like, "What do you mean the Panthers? They just beat the Rams like 3 weeks ago." So, I mean, to say they can't do it is kind of crazy when they just did it in the month of December. So, technically November 30th.
Yeah. What are your projections for today's games, or what are your not projections? You know what I'm talking about. Who do you think is going to win?
Predictions?
Yeah, there you go.
I'd say Rams. I'm going to go Rams, Bears, Bills, Eagles, Chargers, Texans. So that's who I'm going to go with the games today. Bears Packers is going to be fun. Jags Bills is going to be, that's dangerous for the Bills, in my opinion. Jags have been playing better than, just as good as anyone in the NFL, defensively, offensively. Eagles 49ers, I think it's going to be tough for the 49ers. They just got, they just played a tough game to end the season. They have to travel across the entire country. They're already really beat up. I think they lose that game, and then, got to pick the Chargers and then Texans. So what are your predictions?
Yeah, I agree with all of those, except go Pack, go.
You don't have to choose the Packers. You're not a Packers fan.
Yeah, well, I do sleep next to one, so if I want to sleep well,
Yeah.
No, I just think I think like you said, like a lot of these games can go either way. Like I think like the easiest one to pick is Rams over Panthers, but yeah, like you said, Panthers did just beat them.
It was November 30th, so it was a little bit longer than I thought, but still,
Yeah, I mean, wasn't Devontae Adams even in that game still? Like, I don't think it was that long ago. So I don't know what's different for the Rams versus the Panthers, but I mean, the Panthers kind of squeaked in, obviously like they earned it, but they're kind of like the product of just being in like a really shitty division. Yeah. So, I mean, I would have felt the same way about the Bucks too.
Yeah, Adams played in that game. He caught 2 touchdowns. So, yep, we will see there. It's going to be a lot of fun. I was looking at a graphic, and I don't know. They were ranking pass protection, offensive line units in regards to pass protection. Again, I don't know exactly who this Justin Nation, I guess it is. Oh no, that's a Justin Herbert thing. I don't know where these scores come from, but anyways, it's the top 8 teams 1 through 8, all made the playoffs. Bills, Broncos, Steelers, Bears, Eagles, Patriots, Jags, Seahawks. So 8 of the 14 teams that made the playoffs were the first 8. So they had the best pass protection offensive line units. 2 of the remaining 6 were in the top 16. So the first half of the NFL, Rams and Packers. 3 of the last 4 at this point were in the top 20, Panthers, Niners, Texans. Teams 20 through 31 all missed the playoffs. So that's 12 of the 18 teams that missed the playoffs had the worst pass blocking offensive line. And then there's the Chargers at 32. It's like, holy shit, that's bad. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. I think it really is wide open this year. We're gonna be reviewing some rookies here. Some 2025 rookies, that is, not 26. And if you have questions like this, you can drop them in the chat. We'll kind of answer them, throughout the stream. Hit the like button for us. If you're like desperate for an answer because you need to go or something, you can always super chat us. And we'll kind of push that to the top there. The 112 and Manungai too much for Chase Brown. It's a 12-team super flex. Would you add Shador to the 112 and Manungai to go up to Brees? First of all, who would you rather have, Brees or Chase Brown?
I'm just gonna default back to Brees. Like at this point, like in season, I would have preferred Chase, just given the situation of the Jets. Starting, who was their guy again? Like who was the starting quarterback for them the last few games?
Brady Cook.
Yeah, Brady Cook. That's right. So I would have preferred Chase there. And I actually did make a move for him. Obviously, that would have been incorrect because, I mean, if he made it to the championship anyways. Well, maybe not actually because Chase had a huge game in the last week, but so did Brees. But I think I'd rather have Brees at this point, just on the assumption that he's going to go somewhere a lot better. And like we know the talent is there for sure. So I would rather have Brees. And I don't mind adding Shador. The 112 and Manungai for Chase, I don't think that's too much. You just got to believe that Chase Brown's going to be the guy. And obviously, like we saw him kind of come back to life once there was some competent passing there. So assuming health for everybody, which you kind of have to, right? Like going into next year, I think he'll still be the guy.
Yeah, I agree there. I don't mind either trade. I feel like do you even have to add Shador? Maybe, or, you probably have to add something. I don't mind adding Shador. I don't know if he has a future as a starter, but it is super flex and there is a chance he is. So, Manungai, I understand, like, he's going to be an interesting one. We talked about him a little bit, but it's like, they still have Swift under contract. Now, they do technically have an out, but it's not anything crazy. Like he has an almost a $9 million cap hit, and they can save most of that, all but 1.3 million of that. So it is a significant, some significant money they can save there. But if they bring him back and they draft someone, like we could see Manungai kind of get pushed to the side a little bit. I don't know. I don't mind either trade though, for sure. And Brees is a free agent. Can they go anywhere?
Can they tag him if they wanted to? They can, right?
They can tag him, but he can, refuse it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's not as like so basically you can't technically they're not required to sign it like immediately and basically like, but if they get franchise tagged, they're not like they can't just go and like, shop around on other teams. Like it's either you sign the franchise tag or like you don't play kind of, or you kind of force the team to trade you. So that's kind of like the situation that's in there. So it's like you can refuse it kind of, but you're basically like potentially not going to play, or you're forcing a trade, or you're forcing a long-term contract. So, but let's get into these rookies. We're talking wide receivers and tight ends in today's video, and we're starting off with the wide receiver position, kind of going in order of how they were drafted, obviously skipping over some of the players that didn't do too much here. Starting off, of course, with the first wide receiver taken, which sometimes you forget he was the first wide receiver taken, but it's Travis Hunter, who went second overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Played in 7 games, and then he got hurt, and he was done for the year. Kind of sucks because he was just coming off his best game before he got hurt. It was a little bit in that I think it was the London game or something, and it was a little bit of garbage time. They lost that game by a lot, and not necessarily garbage time, but a lot of like catch up there, and then garbage time. I don't really know how we can talk about Travis Hunter right now because we have no idea. And if anyone tells you they think they know, they probably don't. We have no idea what his future is at the wide receiver position. So if you wanted to get, let's just say you drafted Travis Hunter, you probably drafted him in the top 5 of the draft. If someone offered you the 112, the 111, are you just cashing out and just, cutting your risk there? Or are you going to hold out for him and see?
I think it depends on like what my team makeup is for sure. And I know that's always the answer, right? But like,
yeah, let's just say like you're middle of the pack, you made the playoffs, you exited first round, like your team could kind of go either way.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, like his future as a wide receiver is so unknown. Obviously, they just paid Jacoby Myers. Like we saw the resurgence of, or not, I don't know. We saw the surge from Parker Washington, and obviously they still got BTJ there.
Mm-hmm.
And, Brenton Strange looked good. So obviously there's going to be a bit of a target crunch there, even if he is playing wide receiver, but he might be better served as a corner for them. That's kind of what it's seeming like. And that's probably what you're going to hear a lot of, but we don't know any of that. So, I mean, cashing out for the 112 this year, I would definitely consider it, the rookie class better, and we'll be getting into that. But from the sounds of it, it might not be like the deepest, definitely not what we've had these last couple of years. So I'd have to have a player in mind in order to do that, I think. But I don't mind the idea of doing that. But because even if he does play wide receiver, like I don't think he's going to be a dominant, like wide receiver 2 on the team kind of a thing.
The problem is, like, we're not going to really know who's going to be the 112 until the draft. And by that point, you might have a good idea. Like, if they keep Brian Thomas and then obviously they have those other guys, then there's a very good chance, Hunter doesn't play a much. I think he'll still play wide receiver because I think that's what he wants to do. And I think the Jags kind of like drafted him with that in mind. Like, to me, you don't trade up to do what you do to not play him on both sides of the ball. So yeah, that's the problem. Like, I think it's very up in the air who is kind of the 110 to the 112 right now in this draft. And we might not know to the NFL draft and that time, we don't know what's going to happen. So, I don't mind cashing out. I mean, I don't think I would go much lower than that. If I had him, I'd probably just hold him and see what happens. But if it is a first round pick, even in this class, I might just do it because, I mean, the writing's a little bit on the wall there. And like you said, like if they are going to utilize him on both sides, and there's the issue of like the guy got hurt. I don't know if he got hurt because I don't think he was, necessarily playing too much. There was a couple games there where he played a lot. But like the more you get injured, the less you're going to want to do that, So yeah, he had a couple games where he had two games where he had 50% of the snaps or more on both sides of the ball. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see here what they do with him, but it's really, really up in the air. Don't mind if you want to cash out there with him. Taroa McMillan, T-Mac here at the kind of, I was kind of looking at his season. So he finishes the wide receiver 24 in points per game, probably top 15 total points, if I had to guess. Honestly, he kind of this is kind of what I expected from him. I don't think I expected much more from T-Mac and knowing the team he was going to. I think the big question with him is just, is he going to be forever is he going to turn into a Garrett Wilson, a DJ Moore in the beginning of his career, a Chris Olave up until this last year, where it's like, we know the guy's really good, but it's not going to reflect in fantasy because of his team and his quarterback. I think that's really the big question with Tetaroa here. So, I mean, I think you're happy if you obviously drafted him and there's obviously some definite upside there, but it's just like, again, is he Drake London the first couple of years? Like, I don't know if I don't think the Panthers are going to go away from Bryce Young next year. They made the playoffs with him. So, how are you viewing Teterow? Are you kind of satisfied with what you got from him this year?
Yeah, definitely. Like, kind of like what you said. Like, I'd say he even kind of exceeded expectations. Like, not like he was like crazy good or anything like that, but we go back to this a lot about being kind of spoiled with some of what these guys do in their rookie year, and we knew he was going to. Well, we didn't know anything, I guess. We assumed he was going to be the number one target earner on his team, which he was. He had just over a 25% target share. They weren't super pass heavy, I don't know what the actual splits were, but Bryce Young, threw for 480 times like throughout the season. So I do agree that I don't think they're going to move away from Young. Like, I think they're going to try and build off of it. He did have, like a little stretch there towards the end where it was like, man, can we even like start this guy anymore, kind of a thing. But he got over 1,000 yards, just 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns as a rookie. So yeah, I think that's all like really positive stuff. So I think you should be happy with him and not think that your 102 or your 105 pick is going to turn into a top 12 wide receiver every year, So people just got to be a little realistic with their expectations. And yeah, I think it was really good.
Yeah, 25.4% target share percentage there. Second out of rookies in yards per out run. He had almost 45% of their air yards, which is really good. Obviously, that's like really, really good. So yeah, I would explore the option of. So where's he at right now? Yeah, wide receiver 9. I'd explore the option of using T-Mac as a tier up player, like a player to tier up to basically any of the guys above him, to be honest. And I think it's, I know Drake London's wide receiver 9 and T-Mac's wide receiver 8 and T-Mac's wide receiver 9. I think that's a significant upgrade. So I would use him to do that. And knowing that you're going to get an elite player, and Teterow could turn into that, but at the same time, like, he could also just kind of turn into those other guys we mentioned, and he'll be a startable piece, but he won't be like a true difference maker in a shallower league. So I think I'm kind of exploring it. I don't think I have him in any leagues, to be honest, but I think I would explore trying to tier up with him and put in a package together there. So
sure. Yeah. I didn't realize as soon as you said, like, where is he like ranked? It's like, oh, I don't even have that one open. Yeah. Wide receiver 9 is surprising. I think he's a decent tier down from guy also, given the talent that's below him, so no one specifically in mind, but like, I mean, would you rather have him or T Higgins on your team? Or even what about Luther Burden? These guys are way, way lower, but it's like, yeah, you can kind of make a case for T Higgins, like, just because we've seen it, and that might be a decent swap to like a rebuilding team and get something significant back too.
Yeah, but keep in mind, like, what we saw was amazing, and we could see progression too. Like, I think we kind of felt that way a little bit with JSN, how I feel with T-Mac right now. Like, what's his ceiling? What is his ceiling? I was saying, like, what is JSN's ceiling? He was right around this range going into this year. And I was kind of like, I don't know if I see him going much higher. I don't see a ceiling. And I was wrong about that. So, like, Teterow was like the clear wide receiver 1, like pure wide receiver 1. And he performed really, 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 really well. And so it's not crazy to say like he could enter the elite category. I in a vacuum, I'd want Teterow over T. Would I be surprised if T's better next year? No, but I think I'd still want him, like basically T-Mac would have to kind of like crater a bit and Higgins have a really good season for Higgins to even be close to the ranking of T-Mac. So
yeah. The reason why I brought him up is because it's like for those reasons that you just said, like where it's like I wouldn't be surprised if Higgins has a better year, and he's significantly lower. He's 11 spots lower on keep trade cut right now. So, and he's not overly old. He's 27. Tetaroa is about to be 23 in a couple of months.
Yeah, I mean that's a significant difference.
Yeah. So
for receivers.
Speaking of age, though, I'm just going to go off on our little rant here real quick. The age on keep trade cut, it's in like they have decimals, right? But I imagine that like you got to do a little bit of math, and it's almost like they should just have like 24.11 if they're about to turn 25, kind of a thing, right? Like,
yeah,
like just make the second number in months. I don't see any. Like the highest decimal point is 9, and then I assume it rolls over.
Yeah.
Michael Wilson's 25.9. I imagine that means he's about to be 26. But anyways, that's my short rant there.
Michael Wilson is 26 in about a month and a half, February 23rd. So
there you go.
The pride of Simi Valley. So yeah, I understand that, and I don't disagree with you, but you also have to take into account the value that these guys hold, so
yeah,
and not just like who's going to be better.
Yeah. No, so. I wasn't saying straight up either way. But I was just kind of curious, like if that was something interesting to bring up. When you said the pride of Simi Valley, I was like, what about Drake London? He's from somewhere up there. It was
Moorpark, I believe. Yeah.
I knew he went to Moorpark High School, but I don't know.
Yeah.
California geography, everyone. Those cities are right next to each other.
Yeah. There was another athlete, like pretty well-known athlete from Simi Valley. I don't know if it was baseball or something, but okay, Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver, 35 amazingly in points per game. I mean, this guy was like a top 10 wide receiver, maybe top 5 to begin the year, and absolutely cratered. Comes in, he was the 3rd drafted wide receiver. I think he got as high as wide receiver 5 in Dynasty. Now he's floating right around wide receiver 13. I'm going to check here. Actually, no, wide receiver 8. I thought he got a little bit higher than that. Looks like wide receiver 8 was his peak. So he's an interesting one, like, because obviously he started off so hot. It was a little touchdown heavy. Not quite. I mean, he had a couple big games in there without touchdowns, especially like he started off pretty touchdown heavy. Then he had 4 for 101, 7 for 163. You started to think, okay, like maybe this guy is legit. And then from that point on, basically cratered. Had one other big game. So one thing I'll say about Emeka Egbuka is even the people that really liked Emeka Egbuka, and I liked him too. I think we all liked him as a first round pick. I think how he started for even the biggest fan of Emeka Egbuka, they even didn't expect that type of production that he was going through. Like, I don't think anyone expected him to be a top 5 wide receiver, especially out the gate, maybe in his career, and that's what he was producing as. I don't know. I don't really know. Like, I think he's kind of appropriately ranked. I think there's still obviously a lot of potential. You got Mike Evans, who's another year older at this point. It's going to fall off eventually. He's going to be 33 to start the year. Chris Godwin's another year older. And I don't even know what's his contract situation. Godwin, I think he's still on the Bucks. Looks like he's, yeah, and they can't really get rid of him this year. So Godwin's still going to be there, potentially Evans, Jalen McMillan, these guys are still going to be there. But I don't know. I kind of see him as appropriately ranked. If anyone still thinks he is like a top 7 wide receiver, I would probably ship him out for that price, or I would ship him out for that price. But what's your thoughts on Emeka Egbuka?
Yeah, I remember talking about him on one of our weekly casts, like when he was doing what he was doing early in the season, and you were talking kind of about his dynasty value, and it's like, yeah, like this is amazing, right? Like we did talk about it being like a little touchdown heavy, and there was a few games where it was kind of like, oh, like it was one long touchdown kind of a thing, like that's kind of what he was doing, but still earning a very healthy target share. Like he ended up with 23.5% of the team's targets, which we like, like as a rookie. And, he wasn't that far off from what Tetaroa did. 938 and 6 touchdowns on a similar target.
Consistency.
Yeah, sure. And I don't know. I mean, you might have to go back and look at it a little bit, but the Rams game in week 12 is where everything really started to go wrong for him. And that's the game that Baker left halfway through with the injury. And it kind of seemed like Baker was kind of dealing with that for the rest of the season. So, there's a lot of like context there for sure. I mean, I know because like I watch them regularly, I watch the Bucks. And another thing that's a little telling, because I kind of do remember this, like where it's like, man, Baker just like totally like missed him too. 127 targets. Fantasy Pros has only 73 of those as catchable. So that's pretty significant, that's like, a 2/3 catchable target rate. I don't know how well that's like broken down like across like which parts of the season. So I think the wheels are still up for Emeka Egbuka for sure. Like and especially like where you got him too, right? Like you kind of feel like you won on that, or you should anyways.
Yeah, I mean, he was falling to the second round in some drafts, because just how deep that draft was. So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, some of the, pop the hood numbers. I don't know if that's the right phrase there, but yeah, he had a huge percentage, 35.5% of the team's air yards. Not very good with like contested catches and stuff, which is a little concerning because he wasn't creating a whole lot of separation, just compared to like these other players. He was, I think, slightly. He was above average, but maybe not like elite or anything like that. So, 1.75 yards per route run, which was I think like third best out of rookies. So yeah, I think you're pretty satisfied with what you got from him. It just sucks that like. I always think about too, though, like what if he finished his season like that? He would be ranked higher. It's always like a thought that pops into my mind of just like, should we judge it that way? Maybe, but yeah, obviously like the entire Bucks team, like something was just off there at the end, well, the second half of the year. So yeah, it was kind of weird to be honest, to see that even when they got their guys back. So Matthew Golden, don't forget about him. He was a first round pick. Easy to forget he was because
the Packers forgot about him.
Yeah, Packers forgot about him. We all forgot about him. Did nothing really. I was actually looking this up, and what did I do? I did rookie first round picks who played in like 10 or more games to not even get to 500 yards. And I think it might have been 12 games or something. It was pretty bad. It was a really bad list of players. Like I think honestly, there's a couple like Mike Williams. It's probably like the biggest like success story of players. Maybe and I think Mike Williams only played in 10 games, by the way. And he Yeah, he only played in 10 games that year, but he did like nothing his rookie year. I mean, Quentin Johnston was another one on that list. Like those are probably the most success we've seen as of now. This is since 2015, by the way. I didn't go too far back, but it's concerning. It's concerning because like this is a little bit like Quentin Johnston. Like opportunity was there for him, and he played a decent amount. He played in 53% of his team snaps, during healthy games. Christian Watson missed time. Jaden Reed missed time. Did Tucker Kraft was out. Did Dobbs miss a game or two? But we still saw nothing from Golden. And so that is a little bit of like a red flag. And I was a big Golden fan. Still am, but it's concerning here. I mean, you can't move on from him because I don't think anyone's going to give you anything, especially because it's the Packers, and their frustration with wide receivers. So,
yeah,
what do you think about Golden?
I think that's kind of like one of the biggest strikes on him. Like we didn't get to see him a whole lot. Obviously, just getting on the field is earned. But I mean, with so many receivers like on that team, like we talk about it all the time with the Packers specifically, where it's like there's no concentrated attack plan besides like Romeo Dobbs basically getting the majority of the target share there and not doing a whole lot with it. And even then, he's still sub 20% for the team. He did not miss a game, by the way, except unless you count week 18. But so I think that's part of the problem, is like you might not get much of a chance to see him. And so how do you even think about him? I agree. You're probably not getting a whole lot from him or for him in trade. So maybe just hold and see. Like Dobbs is in a contract year, right?
Mm-hmm.
He should be.
I believe so.
Yeah. So Dobbs is in a contract year. I know Watson might similarly be. I know they paid him while he was hurt. So he's 4 years in too. So, I mean, the makeup of the team could be quite significantly different. So I think he's fine to hold and just to like see what happens this next year. I mean, you get to see him at least one more game this year. Mm-hmm. Hopefully more. Maybe you get to see him, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a whole lot to say because not a whole lot of anything to see, I mean, Dontavian Wicks had a slightly higher target share than him, so that's rough.
Watson will be back next year.
That contract would include his money or money for next year.
I think they gave him a 1-year extension.
Okay. Yeah,
he wasn't a first round pick, so
right.
The 5th year.
That makes sense. Because I do remember them paying him like during the season or right before the season started. I think it was during the season, before he even came back.
It was September.
Yep. So it was kind of like a prove it deal because they knew he wasn't going to start right away.
So. I don't know. I mean, Matthew Golden was already a 2nd-round pick in this last year's draft, even though he's a 1st-round pick at the wide receiver position. I don't know if I saw a draft where he went 1st round. Maybe 1 or 2, but and I watched a lot of them. Like, it was hard to get Matthew Golden in there because I remember he was part of that group of guys where it's just like, man, like the 201 to the 205, where it's like you're still getting 1st-round picks and stuff like that, or you're getting, 2nd-round pick running back or something. So, it's tough. It sucks. I'm not very optimistic, to be honest, just because the team he's on as well. So, that's all the 1st-round picks at the wide receiver position. There were some 2nd-round picks here. The first 2 are we can talk about because they did basically with both these guys, Higgins and Luther Burden, they did enough to where you are very comfortable of holding on to them. You're pretty optimistic about them developing into potential starter on your team, depending on the depth of your league. And you're not underselling these guys at all. You're at worst you're giving them up for what you paid for them, but probably not. Both Higgins and Burden here. So these guys, they produced throughout the entire year. Had stretches of good games. Higgins caught 6 touchdowns, which is going to be good to see because I think that's kind of his path to relevancy a little bit. So, and I'm really excited about Luther Burden and his future. Now, my only slight concern here is is he he played in 40% of the team's snaps, partly due to Olamide Zaccheaus taking a decent amount of that in the beginning of the year, which is to be expected at times. We forget we always want to go with the shiny new toy, but it's these guys are professional wide receivers and they hold a role there. So the first 8 weeks of the season there for Luther Burden, he was averaging 24.2% of the snaps. In the second half from weeks 9 on or weeks 10 on, 52% of the snaps. My only concern for him is he just like a 50, 60% snap guy, or is he going to be more? But man, all the pop the hood numbers are awesome. His yards per route run by far the best out of rookies, 2.69. Second best was Tetaroa at 1.84. His separation, he led the entire NFL out of wide receivers and tight ends who had 45 or more targets in average separation, 4.6 yards of average separation, which is insane. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean he's awesome because you look at some of the other top guys and Marvin Mims is up there and some other guys that didn't really produce, but it's not a bad thing to be open by that much. So a lot of stuff here looks good for Luther Burden. I'm super excited about him. So thoughts on you kind of agree with both these guys of you probably have to be overpay you slightly in value in order to get them off your team?
Yeah, I think so. You're just going to keep going with the pop the hood numbers thing, huh? Is that what we're going with?
Yeah, it seems right.
Okay.
Pop the hood. You got the stat, you got the yards, touchdowns, catches numbers. That's the shiny stuff on the outside. But what makes the car run? It's the engine, man. You don't see the engine ever.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. What about the big block stuff? Where it's poking through the hood.
Yeah, true.
Or some kind of weird clear car. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Luther Burden, obviously, he really came through for people in the finals, or the playoffs in fantasy in the 2 games that he played. So there is going to be some everyone's people who have him are or will be and should be decently excited about him. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Bears moving forward, and even in these playoffs, if they do move on. And obviously in tonight's game is going to be kind of interesting because he missed the game against Green Bay a few weeks ago. Obviously, I think the biggest thing against Burden is the team that he's on. Not that because they're bad, because obviously the Bears are really good this season, but just a lot of competition, right? No one person really stood out with even a 17% target share between DJ Moore, Adunze, and our buddy Mr. Loveland, who we're going to talk about a little later. Mm-hmm. They all got right around that 17% target share, right? So it's okay, how does he squeeze a little bit more into there? And I think you kind of nailed it with the Olamide Zaccheaus kind of a thing. It's you want that veteran presence for everyone starts off the season in the same way, right? Where it's okay, how do we win? And it's not necessarily throwing that rookie into the wolf den or under the hood of the car or whatever. Yeah. So a lot of encouraging signs from Burden. I'm excited to see it. Higgins, to go back to him, like, I mean, there is no clear number 2 guy on the team. It could easily be him. Obviously, like, the Texans defense has been keeping them in games. And so, obviously in order to actually win those games, they need to get a little bit of offense going, a little bit more than what we saw at times from them. And we've seen Stroud be capable, like, he's not a terrible quarterback. So let's see what happens this next year. I don't think Christian Kirk will be there, right? Not that that really mattered that much anyways, but I'm just trying to think of who else is actually on that team, so.
Yeah, Jalen Noel, the other rookie. But Kirk affects more Jalen Noel than anything.
Yeah, not a lot of competition there. They need to get some line help, O-line help to give Stroud a little bit more time, and then I think Higgins will benefit from that quite a bit.
Yeah, maybe Dalton Schultz. I don't think they're going to want to, but they could save $5 million from cutting him. But I don't see why they would. So, yeah. So, I mean, again, this is what, like, if you're not going to get a breakout guy, which is very rare for second round wide receivers, this is what you want to see, like enough production to where I feel comfortable with, as opposed to the next 2 second round picks, Trey Harris and Jack Besh, which did nothing. I don't have a graphic for them. Neither one of these guys really did anything. This happens every single year. These guys were mid second round picks for the most part. How I view these guys that, and from this is going to happen this coming year where you're going to get these second round picks that don't do really anything. I view it as just like, I can't sell these guys. If I can get 60-70% of what I paid for them, I would think about it. I don't think you can. So I don't think I'm going to get an early third round pick for these guys. I just don't. I always like to try and trade these guys to rebuilding teams during the season. They could be part of a package, like, hey, like, here's a pick, here's a player, and then here's like Trey Harris, who's hasn't done anything, but look, he's a young rookie who has potential, and kind of. So, but if you didn't do that, you just kind of hold these guys unless you can kind of cash out for 70% of what you paid or so. I don't know what the exact number is. For me, Trey Harris, like, he's gonna have to kind of have a, like, I kind of see him as like, can he have an Alec Pierce here? That's kind of how I view Trey Harris. I'll have a bias on these guys too. I wasn't a big Trey Harris guy. I like Jack Besh as a prospect. I think Trey Harris, yeah, like, can he be Alec Pierce? And, like, obviously Alec Pierce from this year was awesome, but, like, even Alec Pierce from last year, that's to me kind of his ceiling. Besh, we'll see. I think he can be more of an all-around wide receiver. They just need a quarterback to get in there. So if you want to add something on those guys, you can, or we can just kind of.
I mean, not a whole lot on top of, like, what you said, right? Like, I'd rather have Besh than Harris, even though Harris is on the obviously better offense and everything, but there's just a lot more going on there with like, as far as like how the team is built. The Raiders have nothing. And so usually you don't want that guy, like, but it's like, you can see a path for him to be somewhat fantasy relevant, but I mean, you really got to squint to see it. So
yeah.
Yeah, I like the advice that you gave with as far as trying to include them in a package in like mid-season, because you got to give something like on top of it, and it's like essentially you're giving a second round pick from last year. But yeah, good luck doing it now.
Yeah, and you could maybe if there's still a veteran on a rebuilding team or something, that's it. Obviously you're a little bit more hesitant because you're 8 months out from football. These guys plug it into your lineup. So there was a few early third round picks that flashed, but didn't really do anything most of the year. Kyle Williams, Tesla, Pat Bryant, Jalen Knoll. I kind of like the prospects of all these guys. I'm a big Kyle Williams fan, so I'm going to be biased there. The story for me with Kyle Williams, I think he could be really, really good. They just didn't need him this year. Stephon Diggs was a veteran presence who was producing for them. Demario Douglas was fine in the slot. Mac Hollins and Booty were very productive as down the field guys, and that's kind of how they use Kyle Williams. Tesla, we're gonna see. Like my only issue with him is he caught his touchdown to reception ratio was insane. It was 6 touchdowns for 16 catches, but I just find it a little bit hard. He has like Amon-Ra, J-Mo, Laporta. The team wants to run the ball, so he has a bit of a harder path, in my opinion. Pat Bryant, we'll see what the Broncos do. They're always a little frustrating with or have been, under Sean Payton. And then Jalen Knoll, I really liked him coming in. Christian Kirk kind of held him at bay a little bit, just like Zacchaeus did for Burden, but I do like Knoll moving forward. So these guys are all clear holds. And I think I want, again, like I don't even think I would, with these guys, I think I would just, because you probably paid what, a 3rd round pick, maybe a 4th round pick for like a guy like Tesla. Like I don't even want like 70% on the dollar there like I do with the other guys. I probably want equal or above value, especially for the guys that I like. So anything with those players there?
Not really. Like, I mean, I think like you said, your bias towards Kyle Williams might pay dividends this next year. Like you said, they won, like they were winning games without him. So like we did see him. We saw Drake May connect with him on a nice long touchdown a few times throughout the season, which is nice to see. We don't know what this team's going to look like next year, given some of the other guys that are there right now. But yeah, I think we saw enough to be encouraged, I guess. Yeah, Pat Bryant, I mean, Denver, like what the hell do we do with some of these guys, like we did see him kind of eating into Troy Franklin's snap share there a little bit, but it's so hard to predict, Of course, you want pieces on teams that are playing well and should continue to play well because they're relatively young, but
yeah. And if you don't feel strongly about any of these guys and you wanted to re-roll them for next year, you can do that by re-roll. I mean, like you basically get what you paid for them. I will say, like in deeper leagues, though, these guys can become starters pretty easily. So before we get into like a giant group of guys that I want to touch on, we'll touch on the Tennessee guys real quick here. Chimere Dike and Alec Iomanner both had productive years, for 4th round rookies. Playing with a rookie quarterback and stuff. I really like DK as just a player. I don't know what kind of fantasy future he has in shallower leagues. Obviously, if you get return yardage stuff, the guy's a monster. But I think just as a player, I would want him on my team. I think he just does a lot of things nicely. Again, what's he really going to be? He might be more of just a special team, gadget type of player. I don't know if he's going to be a consistent fantasy guy. I definitely, if I had to choose, I would choose Iomanner over DK as developing into a consistent, wide receiver. But yeah, I mean, I think you couldn't really ask much more for these guys, and they're easy holds, both of them. And I think they kind of exceeded expectations a little bit, playing with a rookie quarterback as well. So, anything there? Do you have a preference in DK versus Iomanner?
I think I like DK better, but it's not strong either way, right? Like they had very similar seasons. Like you said, like, I mean, the Titans are in full-on rebuild mode, so these guys could easily become a part of their future for sure. Like we saw some flashes from Cam Ward, like in the second half of the season. Well, I mean, not even the second half necessarily, but like, I mean, he played better, I guess, is a better way to put it. So I don't really want to call it a flash. But yeah, like I think, excuse me, I think what you said is like perfectly salient. That decent holds at the end of your bench. See what happens this coming year.
Yeah. And again, I just kind of see Kyle Manor, like the way he plays and the way he earns his yardage and stuff, as like a little bit more that could be long term. Number one wide receiver type of stuff.
There was someone who was pretty high on him as a rookie prospect. I want to say it might have been Pat Fitzmaurice from the Fantasy Pros. I think it was him, but maybe I'm putting words into his mouth. But there was someone who had him as like their wide receiver 4 or something like that, or 3 even. Like where it was kind of like that was the first time I ever even heard the name, and then the draft happened, and so he fell a little bit. Like in most people weren't even talking about him, kind of a thing, right?
I would say like this time last year, it was Travis Hunter, T-Mac, Emeka Ibuka, and then Alec Eilmanor was kind of there as the next guy for a lot of people. Okay. Matthew Golden hadn't declared yet, or maybe Luther Burden as well. But like Alec, it was very common to see him as like a top 5 wide receiver, and then like Matthew Golden got added, and there were some of these other guys we liked, and then so he was kind of up there in the pre-draft process early on. So, which is why we always like suggest following rookies from this point and not like a month before the draft, because you see the whole development here, and so yeah, I do think there's something there with Kyle Manor for sure. But what do you do? What do you personally do if there's a huge group of like 3rd, 4th round picks that did really nothing? Savion Williams, Ty Felton, Dante Thornton, Arian Smith, Jalen Lane, Jalen Royals, Jordan Watkins. All those guys were 3rd or 4th round picks who literally did almost nothing. Like, how do you approach those guys? Do you just like probably going to cut these guys when rookie drafts come along? Do you find another deep stash and replace them with them? Like, does it depend on who you liked in the pre-draft, stuff? Like, what do you do with these guys?
I think that's that's part of it is who did you like? That's why you took them, kind of a thing. Like, you're okay to cut them if you need to make space for rookie picks. Like, you probably didn't invest a whole lot in these guys. I think team context is really important also. Like, Savion Williams is like the highest drafted guy that you just mentioned, right? But again, he's on the Packers. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm probably just fine cutting him. Ty Felton on the Vikings. Like, we need competent quarterback play there. Plus, they have their 2 receivers that I doubt he's going to play better than. I mean, it's just like a big ask. Not that I don't think like he's talented or anything like that, because I really don't know anything about him. Yeah, and then as you go down the list, it's like Dante Thornton on the Raiders. It's like I think I want to attach myself to better offenses who could be in kind of a rebuild, or potentially better offenses, I should say. Like, you can see the path, like the Jets and the Raiders. It's kind of like I just don't see that right now. So fine as a deep stash with Arian Smith and Dante Thornton, but Jalen Lane and Jalen Royals, the 2 Jalens on the Commanders and the Chiefs, like you can see like more so with the Commanders as like what's their wide receiver core going to look like, at the start of the season? Like, is it still going to be McLaurin and Debo? These guys are aging out. Like, they need to get some. What's that?
Debo was a 1-year contract, so
yeah, I'm just saying like there's a vacuum to fill there. Like, is it going to be Jalen Lane? Probably not, but at least you can see somewhat of a path. And with Royals, like, he's attached to the Chiefs. Like, I don't think he's going to do anything this next year, so it's going to be tough to hold him for a solid full 2 years and then not really see anything. But, we don't know when we're going to get Mahomes back. Rashee Rice is a huge question mark at this point. So you can kind of squint and see it. as far as like I'd rather attach myself to those two guys, the Jalen's, as opposed to some of those other guys that I just mentioned.
I would attach myself to the players I liked in the pre-draft. That's how I approach these guys. The two in particular are Savion Williams and Jalen Royals. So Savion Williams was probably one of my favorite players to just watch because the dude's so fun. He lined up all over the field in college. He should be used more like Cordero Patterson than anything. So a team's going to have to commit to that. I mean, he did have like 11 carries or something this year, 10, 11 carries. So much so that when you go to his Pro Football Reference page, they actually list his rushing production first and then his receiving production. They got to use him as like a yeah. 11 carries he had, and then 10 catches. So they got to use him like that. Like he needs to be a guy that gets 30, 40 carries for him to be productive. But I still, as an athlete, I think he's just awesome. And then Royals, I had like as like a top 5 wide receiver for me at times. I thought he was that good. And then he fell a little bit. Chiefs didn't really need him with, kind of, I mean, because of the production, like they had Juju there. They had Tyquan Thornton kind of producing while Worthy and Rice were out. Then those two guys came back. So they kind of just didn't need him. Plus Hollywood Brown was there. We'll see this year, though. Hollywood Brown could be gone. Juju, we'll see. Kelsey could be gone. Rice, could have some suspensions coming and stuff. I think Royals is still a talented wide receiver. I would definitely be holding him. All the other guys, though, I'm not really too excited to hold, to be honest. So they're probably holds for now, but in deeper leagues, but kind of move on there. So of the other 5th round or later guys, there's only 2 guys I want to touch on here real quick. We don't have to spend too much time. Torrey Horton, and I didn't even make a graphic for him, but Torrey Horton, I liked him as well. And he was producing for the Seahawks, like basically catching touchdowns. He was good for like a long touchdown catch every other game or something like that. Like I think, he had 5 touchdowns in like the 8 games that he played. But look at his box score. It was like, 2 for 32 and a touchdown, 3 for 32 and a touchdown, 3 for 39. So I think he's a good player. I think he has a role on a team, definitely holding him, but we'll see what he develops into. And then Tez Johnson, flashed here, started him in redraft at times in deeper leagues, but he's similar to Torrey Horton. There's just a lot of mouths to feed potentially, but it also could be like, hey, this wide receiver core moves to Ibuka, McMillan, and Tez Johnson or something like that. So, I mean, these guys are definitely holds, but I don't know beyond that what we want to say here.
Yeah, I mean, Torrey Horton could have a little bit of Kyle Williams syndrome, right? Like he was on a team that was winning games without needing him to do anything. And obviously Horton missed half the season with injury. So, but I mean, you can see there is potentially a role there. So,
yeah.
Yep.
Yes, indeed. So that's really it for the wide receivers. I mean, there's a couple like deep stashes out there and like Mumfield and stuff like that, but nothing too much to talk about. So into the tight ends, there's supposed to be a good tight end class, and I think it kind of played out that way. Colston Loveland was the first tight end off the board, and honestly, he had a good year, just numbers wise. Like I don't know how often you started him for fantasy. Maybe at the end there, he really came on, but I mean, the guy had 58 catches, 700 yards, and 6 touchdowns. That's like better than most tight ends, let alone like rookie tight ends. So I guess my discussion here, Tyler Warren was the other first round pick. There was a lot of, are you team Warren or are you team Loveland throughout the pre-draft process? They both finished very, similar to each other. Warren was better, but Warren had, Loveland had a better finish. Warren, not so much. Who would you take in a vacuum? You're in a dynasty startup. Who are you taking first?
I'm going to lean towards Tyler Warren for a couple of reasons. obviously the question mark at quarterback for next year is it's definitely there. And to say that there's less target competition in Indy might be a little like it's true, but it's not like they don't have anybody, right? Like they do have a talented wide receiver room with Pierce, Pittman, and Downs. Plus, we'll see what Adonai Mitchell can turn into, I guess, if anything. But I mean, Tyler Warren, he finished at the top of his. What's that?
Is that Adonai Mitchell?
Yeah, apparently he's on the team.
No, he's on the Jets. He got traded to the Jets, remember?
Oh, okay. So that was
part of the Sauce Gardner.
Yeah. I thought he went somewhere, and I was like, I guess he went here, because he's listed under. I'm looking at Colts wide receiver stats, but he's still on there. I was just throwing him in there as kind of I know people were excited about him last year in general. All right. Never mind Adonai, because I don't think he was really gonna be part of that discussion anyways. But I mean, Tyler Warren, he did actually lead his team in targets, and that's what you want from a tight end, especially to really be in that high end, top 5 consistent tight end. You want him to be first or second on their team in targets, ideally. That's what we're expecting, for the, that's what Kelsey was. That's what Brock Bowers is, Trey McBride. I'm not saying Warren's going to be those guys, or even that he has to be preferred, but just to do what he did as a rookie was impressive, to say the least. So I'm going to take him over Loveland. But I think Loveland's a solid, he'll be a top 12, a consistent top 12 tight end. Jesus Christ. I do like his team situation a little better with the quarterback. But we're going to have to deal with the target crunch, I guess.
Were you team Warren when it was rookie drafts and stuff? Or were you team Loveland?
I think I was scared of Tyler Warren, partially because I feel like tight ends are so situation dependent. I mean, that's a huge part of it, right? Where it's another Colts tight end. I don't want that, So yeah. I think I was kind of scared off of him, but it was close because they were drafted so close and so high. And the smudge on Loveland's record were the Bears going to be any good was basically how do you see the path for him moving forward in general, fantasy relevant kind of a thing. And he showed us how he could be, for sure. So I want to say I was Loveland slightly above Warren, but they were so close.
Yeah, I was on. The reason I ask is because I feel like whoever you are on is probably where you're going to stay when it comes to these two guys. Because I don't think either one of them necessarily did a way better than the other for you to change your mind too much. I was on team Warren. I will say this, though. My concern with Loveland was how much is he going to play enough? I thought Warren was going to play 80, 90% of the snaps from the get-go, and he did. He played for 84 on the season, and that was from the start. He was consistently above 80 throughout the year, and I thought Loveland could be a 60% guy, which is exactly how it was playing out until the end of the year. And then Loveland, last 3 games, 82.8, 81.8, 90.9. And so if Loveland's going to be playing that many snaps, I think I would actually prefer Loveland over Warren for the next couple of years. So, but man, I really like Tyler Warren a lot. He didn't really have any blow-up games, whereas Loveland did. Warren was more consistency. Maybe that's just more towards the offense or something. Warren also only had 4 touchdowns. I don't know what Loveland. 5 touchdowns total. for Warren, 6 for Loveland. So, but yeah, did he lead them in target percentage? You said targets and target percentage. I know you had 21.1 target percentage.
Yeah, just barely over Michael Pittman. Pittman had 20.9. He had 111, and it was even. Let's call it that, because I mean, technically, Warren had one more.
The next tight end to go, and I kind of want to group Terrence Ferguson, Mason Taylor, and I guess Elijah Arroyo here together. But to me, these guys are big tier down tight end options because I think they're good players. And I think, it's hard to expect the tight end, non-first round tight end to do a whole lot in the first year. It happens. We'll talk about one here soon. But to me, what sells me on a guy like Mason Taylor is the team played him a lot. He played over 80% of the team snaps. So that sells me on a guy like Mason Taylor, and they just need better quarterback play. So I'm going to be looking to tier down to a Mason Taylor, to a Terrence Ferguson. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like is it maybe not quite the level of like a McBride, but like buying low on McBride after year one, or even a guy like Theo Johnson who had a decent year this year, and that production was enough for you to get by and stuff. Arroyo is a little different because I wasn't 100% sure how they're going to use him, and I think he has more of a hurdle than the other guys. Like he has AJ Barner ahead of him, who I think is a good tight end, and that could be an issue for him. So, but the other two, for Ferguson and Mason Taylor, completely comfortable tearing down to those guys. Any thoughts on those three?
Now, that was a pretty good summation. Mason Taylor does, like, you can easily see that path for him to basically be the number 2 on his team. And his snap percentage was great. But yeah, I like how you said, like, they need more competent quarterback play. I wasn't aware of the Jets having quarterback play this year, but
yeah.
Anyways, the Rams are just, like, obviously, like, you'd love it if it was just one guy. They use like a slew of tight ends, which is fine. But yeah, I don't mind the dart throw on Ferguson as well. And yeah, you summed up Arroyo pretty good, I'd say.
I'm curious, like, what the Rams' plan would have been if, like, because Higbee was there from the beginning. Maybe this just was
for a decent amount, right?
Yeah, but he played in the first week or two.
Actually, more than I thought. He didn't miss a game till week 5, and then he came back, and then it wasn't until week 12 until he missed another game. So
yeah, because I thought maybe they transitioned to this. They used 4 tight ends: Parkinson, Higbee, Davis, Allen, and then Ferguson. So I guess my thought was like maybe they did that because Higbee was out the first few weeks, but yeah, he played in the beginning. So it is a bit of concern because do they just run that back a little bit? I think all those guys are technically could be back as well. I don't think any of them are free agents. So, but still like Ferguson to kind of come out on top there. Harold Fannin Jr. I guess I should throw his name into. Are you taking him over Loveland or Warren? And is the only reason you're not is because he was a 3rd-round pick and not a 1st-round pick?
That's tough. Like, he definitely like moved into the conversation with those guys. Like, you're definitely like extremely happy with where he moved in. Like, I liked Harold Fannin. Like, I don't do like the rookie breakdowns like you and Dad did. Hopefully, we'll make some videos about that coming up soon, and you can kind of school me a little bit on what I should be looking for. Like I can be the audience surrogate there. But I know it was Harold Fannin, right, that led like all of college in like receptions and yards and everything. I mean, that's why I knew who he was, right? Obviously, he had a huge year. He was on the Browns, so it's you would have liked more, but I mean, how much more can you ask for than 72 and 31 touchdowns on like an absolutely like terrible team with like not consistent quarterback play and David in front of you, which didn't turn out to be the case, so I'm super excited about him, especially like where you got him, because the other two guys you were probably drafting, depending on if you're tight end premium or not, but like, back into the first round, or, like we'll just say like 108 plus, like, or through 204 or something for those other two guys, depending if there's a premium there or not. And Harold Fannin, you were probably consistently getting in like, in the third or fourth round. So you like the return on value there. Like, obviously, like we don't know what the hell to think about the Browns, like who's their quarterback? Is Jerry Jeudy just completely like shitty? Like, did we completely miss on that? Like he can easily be the target leader on his team. He might even have been, it wouldn't surprise me if he was. Let's see, 20.5% target share for this year. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he beat out Jeudy by a couple of targets. So there you have it. Harold Fannin is the shit.
And you talked about like, maybe he wanted more, but he was on the Browns. I think the fact that he was on the Browns boosted his value in case even more. Like the fact that he did that. Loveland had Caleb Williams, Tyler Warren had Daniel Jones there for a while. Like, who did Harold Fannin have? He had Flacco, I guess, and then Dylan Gabriel and stuff. Honestly, I think he's at the point where like, if whoever I could get more, like if I could trade one to the other, and whoever I'm getting a little bit on top of, I'm just going to take. So I think it's at that point. I don't think you can really deny. I mean, he was better than both those guys. We knew he was a really good receiver. The only question with him was, is he going to play enough? Because he's a little bit of a tweener. Well, he came out from the get-go and played a lot. He played 76% of the team's snaps on the year. I don't know if he got hurt in a game, because that could have brought that down a little bit. That doesn't count games he missed, which I don't know. He played in 16 games. So, yeah, I mean, it's at the point to me where like some of the pop the hood numbers were good. His yards after contact were better than a guy like Warren and Loveland and stuff like that. So his air yard percentage was better. So, yeah, super excited for Fannin. How do you feel about him wearing 44?
I don't know. Is that supposed to mean something to me?
Well, I mean, so it used to be like.
Oh, you're talking about the tight end numbers, like in the 80s and shit like that.
Yeah, most tight ends were in the 80s. It used to be like tight ends could only wear either 80s or 40s. I think now they can wear single digits and teens and stuff. They changed that a few years back, where like, wide receivers could only be 10 through 19 and 80 through 89.
See, it's funny because I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, I never really picked up on it. Like, I kind of noticed it before, where a lot of quarterbacks are single digits and stuff before they changed the rules a little bit. And I remember talking to you and Dad about that. And I don't have enough of a history or a concern, I guess, to like really be like, oh, like this is blasphemy, or like I'm just kind of more in the who cares category, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, tight ends are now 0 to 49, 80 to 89. It used to be, I think 40 to 49 and stuff like that. I only ask because usually 40s are reserved for running backs or fullbacks, and really bad cornerbacks. Like people talked about that. Like, oh, you see a defensive back wearing 40 something, you target him. Forget who it was. It might have been Tom Brady. And so, yeah, that's why, I usually assume, mostly with fullbacks, like, I feel like fullbacks in the NFL, they're all in the 40s. I feel like it's probably not true. But like, let's see here. We'll do this and then we'll move on. Alec Ingold he wore 45, now 30. Kyle Juszczyk, I think, is in the 40s, right? He feels like, 44. So just throwing that out there. Couple more guys here at the tight end position to talk about, and then we will be done. Gunnar Helm, he met my threshold of you needed 75 or more fantasy points to be, or a first round pick or early second to be have a graphic here. 91 and 0.7 points, 5.7 per game. I kind of like Gunnar Helm as well. Like he's another guy that I don't mind, especially in a tight end premium, like trying to get him as a throw in, because I think he could Obviously Chigakonkwo, we talked about that a couple days ago, that he led the Titans in catches and receptions, but also Chigakonkwo is one of those tight ends where it's like Gunnar Helm can fit more people's offenses, and they have a new offensive coach coming, or a new coach coming in and all that stuff. So I could see Gunnar Helm being the main tight end for this team heading into next year. It wouldn't shock me. So I don't know. There's not really a whole lot else to say there, but
Okonkwo might not even be there either. I mean, it's the end of his 4th year. So, I mean, what incentive do they have to pay him besides like he's a good player? I mean, that's incentive enough, obviously, for an NFL team, but he's not going to get like a huge contract or anything.
Yeah. And since we are talking tight ends, weird Dynasty, is Cade Otton valuable to keep? He's pretty young. Yeah. I mean, I would keep him for sure. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if like Cade Otton is a low-end tight end 1 next year, to be honest. Like, I mean, I wouldn't bank on it, but I wouldn't be shocked. So,
yeah.
I mean, he kind of had that this year. He just didn't have touchdowns.
Yeah. So. I feel like you're never going to feel good about starting Otton unless other guys are missing. But, I mean, he can come through. But I'm not, like, struggling to keep him on my roster. But
here's the thing. Here's the thing with Otton, though, and a lot of these tight ends is like when you don't play in a tight end, premium. Outside the like McBride this year, most of the tight ends don't make a huge difference compared to wide receivers and running backs and quarterbacks. And so, like, if I could sell Kyle Pitts and get a haul for him and just start Otton, like, I'm going to do that, because even in tight end premiums, unless it's super heavy, like, tight ends unfortunately don't matter a whole lot. I won a tight end premium league 2 years ago or something. I started Tyler Higbee every year, and Higbee basically put up like Cade Otton numbers, So I don't think we have this conversation if Cade Otton catches 6 touchdowns. He had 60 for 572 in 1, So the other tight end was Oronde Gadsden II, came on the scenes here. He was another guy where my hesitation with him was him being a tweener, and then he goes to the Chargers and he didn't feel like a Harbaugh type of tight end, run game tight end. But he came on, he had some good games, he had some down games. I'd be looking to sell high on Okonkwo personally. That's how I feel about him.
Oronde.
I think he's what did I say?
You said Okonkwo.
Oh, yeah. Oronde Gadsden, I'd be looking to sell high on him. He's tight end 10. This feels a little Isaiah Likely-ish. Yeah, I think I'd be looking to sell. If I could tear down to some of those guys we talked about, or even a Cade Otton, man, and someone wanted to pay me like a first-round pick, I'd buy. The Conqueror's gone, man. Like, but not everyone believes in my tight end philosophy here. So how you feeling about Oronde?
Yeah. Again, we saw a nice series of games for him where he just seemed like he was very involved. It didn't always turn into like big fantasy production. He basically had those back-to-back games where people were kind of crowning him as like, oh, this guy's the next big shit, He did play a vast majority of the snaps. The only reason I even knew who he was, because he obviously didn't get the draft capital that you like really look for, is that he went to the Chargers, and it's like, oh man, like who was the last tight end we saw with Herbert that we were excited about? Because I remember being kind of excited. What's that?
You're asking me, or are you like?
Yeah. Because I remember being kind of excited about Conklin this year, like going into the year, where it's like, oh, like we've seen him be decent enough, and like for some reason I was thinking like a tight end in LA could be like a sneaky thing, but I'm trying to think who.
I was excited about Tyler Conklin this year. If that's
I know. That's what I just
Gerald
said.
Everett. Oh, sorry, I was reading a message. So Gerald Everett had a couple good years there.
Yeah, it might have been him that I'm thinking of. where it's like you can see the role kind of carve out, and partially because we weren't expecting Quentin Johnston to do what he did. But we should have known better with Keenan Allen going there too. Like just like very spread out kind of game plan, I guess. Anyways, yeah, I agree with you that Oronde is a decent sell because people are excited about him.
I mean, we saw him go for basically a first round pick in our tight end premium, 1.25. So, it's a pretty good tight end premium there. And I get it. He's a young tight end tied to a good quarterback. And he was like playing really, really well. But yeah, I could see him kind of just being like a likely, unfortunately, where it's like, we know he's good, but he's not going to play enough. Although I feel like, let me see, I have the number here. 62% of the snaps. That's more than I, expected, I guess. So that's really it for tight ends. There's a couple of deep stashes I'm going to throw out. Jackson Hawes, he's the Bills guy, kind of drafted as a blocking tight end. I think he caught 5 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns this year or something. He could replace Dawson Knox. He could be the new Dawson Knox, and Dawson Knox has value at times. If Kincaid's out and stuff. So just keep that in mind. Caleb, I think it's Lohner. I'll have to look up exactly how to say it. He is on the Broncos. He's been on their practice squad for a long time, or all season, I should say. Drafted in the 7th round. He played basketball for a while. And only played 1 year of football in college at Utah, and did nothing really. He had 4 catches that year. So it was kind of amazing that he got drafted, but like his RAS score, which is like the relative athletic, it's the combine number stuff. And his was like really, really good. He was ranked 131 out of 1,242 tight ends since 1987 for his athletic score. So I think he's very athletic. Obviously, he was a project. Maybe go stash him. And then there was a couple other ones that were undrafted. CJ Dupree, another super athletic guy. He's on the Patriots. So just some tight ends to stash, especially in tight end premium leagues. I fired him up a few times. He had a few weeks. Yeah, and that's kind of what he's going to be, K-Dot. So, but I'll take that with the first round pick over, an Oronde Gadsden in a non-tight end premium. Who you got? We talked about this at the top of the show, but I agree with you in all of those, except I do have the Bills winning more because I want to see it than anything. And then the Chargers. You didn't put the Chargers-Patriots game there, Sean, but I do have the Chargers just because I guess I'm a Chargers fan. So I guess I'll root for them. But I think Brian, you were on the same wavelength, except for you want
Packers.
The Packers to win because for some reason you root for the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, I got nothing else to root for. I mean, I'm picking the Chargers over the Patriots, not because I necessarily think they're gonna win. Yeah. Bill's always going to Buffalo. Maybe. I do hate the. What's that? Have Mahomes go through this year.
Mahomes. They've only lost to Mahomes and Burrow, and then Deshaun Watson. But that was like 2018. I think that was the second year for Josh Allen before he really became Josh Allen. They've only lost to Mahomes and Burrow. People talk about, I think the narrative around Josh Allen is that he chokes in the playoffs. Dude's been amazing in the playoffs. I think it's a stupid narrative that people have. He has 13 games in the playoffs. In those 13 games, he has 3,359 passing yards, 25 passing touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 668 yards on the ground, 7 touchdowns. He has 32 touchdowns in 13 games in the playoffs, 4 interceptions only. He's rushing for over 50 yards a game and passing for over 250 yards a game. It's stupid to say Josh Allen. And I'm not saying what you're saying, Sean, is stupid, but because Buffalo does Buffalo, but I don't think I don't think it's Josh Allen's fault, which is not what you were saying here, Sean. But
it's the whole team.
Yeah. I mean, Peyton Manning was a choker in the playoffs until he wasn't. Like it's just one of those things. Like, yeah, it could be. Absolutely could be. I mentioned it too. Jags are dangerous, man. Jags are absolutely dangerous. They're playing better, as good as anyone in the NFL the last 8 weeks. So, but I do think their weakness is in the run game, and I think it could be a James Cook game. And if it is, then I think Buffalo's got it. So it'll be fun. We got 6 games this weekend. Hope you guys enjoy them. We won't be back until Wednesday. I think we're gonna try and do. We got some team reviews that we might need to knock out, but if we don't, we might do a Dynasty startup draft, like mock draft. So join us for that. We need you, Sean, and others to join us because we don't like to draft for 7 teams. We like to have our users draft with us. So plan on that. That will be right around 10 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. So enjoy the games. And any last words?
No, I think that sums it up. Another, I guess what I would call a long one, but I know our last one when you were kind of like, oh, I kind of expected it.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get some good playoff football. We don't have to worry about fantasy anymore. Probably.
Unless you're in a fantasy playoff league. Yeah. Yeah. Do some prop bets and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see you guys then. Enjoy the games and eat good food, I guess.